If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Okay, time's up.
Nina Lynn is currently, well, I was going to say probably one of the most hated people on the internet right now, but that crown probably goes to Miskiff.
Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I
punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
But she's definitely still up there. If you haven't seen, there was an interaction between Nina Lynn, Zoe Spencer, and the assistant of FaZe Silky, his name being Saeed. And this is one of those stories that is a tale as old as time. Someone does a bad thing, and then the internet does that thing where they go back into the past, they activate their time traveling machine and pull up every single receipt, everything they've done wrong in the past, to then levy against them. And one of these clips that was brought up was actually from the Streamer Games. That was hosted back in August this year, but because of how quickly time is moving at the minute, it might as well have been about 5 years ago. So Disguised Toast, another very huge popular streamer, if you don't know him, he did Among Us with Corpse Husband. Remember that whole era where they had, 300 IQ Among Us? The IQ in the videos just seemed to be escalating and getting more and more. So he was lying down on a massage table. Now it looks like they had actual masseuses? I'm not sure how you say that word. But, however, before they could, work their magic, which they were probably paid to do, Lynn starts massaging Disguised Toast. Now, it does start off pretty normally, like any kind of clip farm. But then she starts to spend more time groping Disguised Toast's butt cheeks.
Okay, girl. No, Nina. Oh, why?
And then considering as well what she did to Saeed, people have been spreading this clip around a lot and, to basically try and show that there's like a pattern of behavior. And Disguised Toast actually quote tweeted the clip and said this. This clip is going around with the recent convos, so I'll address it. I was trying to get a massage from the physical therapist when Nina, an IRL streamer I've never met, pushed aside the therapist and started grabbing at my ass while I was already laid on the table. I felt pressured to go along with it because, 3 IRL streamer cameras pointed at my face, and also being at a sponsored event. I did not want to escalate the situation. I was extremely uncomfortable the whole time. Definitely should have said something in the moment and regret not doing so. And honestly, a little ashamed of myself for not speaking up because I just know if I ever spoke about it again in the future, people will say, well, you should have stopped it then. It goes without saying, this is disgusting, really bad, and it never should have happened. But the worst thing is, it's not even like Disguised Toast came out and said, oh, I was comfortable with it. It's all fun and games. He literally said he felt pressured to not say anything because there were 3 cameras pointed at him. Unsurprisingly, if you didn't know, when people have cameras pointed at them, they do tend to act quite differently than when off camera. And then also on top of that as well, he says that he's ashamed for not saying anything because obviously, again, people will then pull up the argument, well, how come you're only saying you've got a problem now? Why didn't you say something at the time? But sometimes at the time, people can't say anything about it or they don't feel comfortable doing so. And obviously as well, on top of that, being under that pressure of being, streamed to possibly tens or if not hundreds of thousands of people, because the streamer games, they are huge. Not to mention afterwards as well, people that watch the, the post stream, the VOD, the re-upload of it, that's probably been shared tens, if not hundreds of thousands of times as well. And of course, talking about Nina Lynn, we then have to discuss what happened with Saeed, which was FaZe Silky's assistant. So this stream actually comes back in 2024, but it's only recently resurfaced now. Again, that argument I make when person does a bad thing, they then try to pull up all the receipts of past events. In the first clip, it shows that Saeed is trying to get away from both Nina Lynn and Zoe Spencer, trying to use FaZe Silky as a barrier between the two of them. And then you can see here, they start trying to grab at Saeed's arms, and you can hear Silky trying to speak reason to them.
Zoe, you can't. Zoe, you can't.
He's 23.
No,
He's consensual.
No, he's not consensual.
Yes, he is.
He's not even saying nothing.
He likes it.
Saying that they can't really do this, and then the counterpoint is he's 23, it's consensual, which again does not make any sense whatsoever. And then you can even see others in the background are clearly saying that this is not consensual. And as Saeed tries to get away, Nina Lynn actually puts her arm around his neck, blocking his escape, and holds him as Zoe starts grinding her ass on his crotch.
I don't think he wants to.
Yeah, stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there.
You can still hear people say that he doesn't want this, and Saeed is still trying to break out of the situation. And then Zoe even says that Silky is weird because he was blocking.
You trying to block it from getting too weird.
Bro, he don't want it, bro.
Yeah, He did not tell you
She
that.
don't want it.
And when Silky defends Saeed by saying that he didn't want it, Zoe tries to defend herself by saying that he didn't tell you that though. As if, you know, Saeed trying to run away wasn't an indicator about that. I think a lot of people need to realize that like female to male, like harassment is genuinely a real thing that does happen. Now, I can't pull up any statistics, but I'm pretty sure that male on female sexual harassment is infinitely more common than the other way around, but it still does happen. So it's almost like when it does happen, people just seem to overlook it or like normalize it. And then there was also another clip from that same stream where Nina and Zoe actually picked Saeed up and took him to a bedroom.
Man. Yo.
Now, Saeed, to be fair, is laughing in this clip, and I can't really say if it's out of like nervousness or if he's actually enjoying it. You know, I'm not like an armchair therapist that can like deduce psychology or anything like that, but from the past things that happened, my vouch would be he probably is a bit nervous. And again, it's that kind of thing where like, you know, everything is being recorded and streamed. You don't want to act like the guy that kind of like ruins the fun or like is the vibe killer. And then the two of them actually start to try and take off his clothes while Saeed is saying no. And then he gets pinned down and Nina starts rummaging through his bag and taking things.
Take all of this off. Take it off. Hey, yo, cut the cameras. Hold on, this is a nice bag.
And then to make matters worse, Nina Lynn was recently confronted about sexually assaulting Saeed and gave like, okay, I know I'm a fence sitter, I get that, but this is like one of the most disgusting and heartless reactions I have ever seen. So when she was asked if she thought, you know, if she did something wrong to Saeed, she says that simply he wasn't sexually assaulted. Instead, he just felt disrespected, and that Nina was apparently trying to make amends for disrespecting him. Though she supposedly didn't know what she was doing was wrong, she also states that we should be thinking about what Saeed's thinking, because apparently nobody wants to walk around with that, because it's embarrassing for him as a man.
No, so the whole Saeed thing, no one essayed Saeed. That's why today I was actually looking for Saeed. I was going to talk to him, be like, you definitely felt disrespected as a person. Me, I take accountability when I do. If you dead ass felt disrespected, I didn't know. But for him to walk around and say all that crazy, you never think about what Saeed's thinking too, though. Like, who wants to walk around being called that? That's embarrassing for him as a guy.
Now, Saeed did actually speak on stream about this as well. He opens up by saying that he really didn't want the outcome of his sexual assault for them to be banned because it doesn't really mean anything to him.
Them being banned is not really anything to me because at the end of the day, like, it's a crime, and people that say that it's not sexual, I don't know what you think sexual is.
I mean, it's a crime, and then a light punishment from Twitch isn't really going to have a lasting impact or reverse what's done to him. Because again, as we know, like the elephant in the room, if you're a woman on Twitch, you probably take about 10% of the penalty as a male streamer. He also says, which is really sad to hear, honestly, it almost sounds like, you know, like PTSD or something, that like every time it resurfaces, it takes a toll on him, and he doesn't want his parents to have to see it and then be upset by it, which is just like, that's horrible to hear from that.
It's like every single time it resurfaces, it just takes a toll on me, and I just don't want to talk about it just because of that. The main thing for me is like, I don't want my parents to see it and then have them like break down over it. I did later on tell my parents about the sexual assault, and my mom ended up crying.
He also states that he has a history of mental illness, including, you know, suicidal thoughts, and to go through something like this and then to have it broadcasted and brought up again and again without the perpetrators facing any kind of justice, he said it's too much for him. And that is, again, one of the curses of the internet. Once something happens, it's basically immortalized forever. I even remember like Lester in GTA 5, he had a similar line about this, about like how it's basically like one of the top 2 worst things that could ever happen to someone.
This is the age of the internet, my Luddite friend. Nothing is forgotten. There are no new leaves. Everything you do and don't do is recorded forever and used to beat you. This is the age of Judgment Day every day. And in the revelation of that, I'd say that you got off pretty lightly. What with all the murders and the thefts and...
Now, as you can expect, both Zoe Spencer and Nina Lynn, at the time of recording, have been banned. Now, you're probably wondering how long the ban was. I'll get to that. Don't you worry, I will get to that. Now, beforehand, I do want to say, even though the clip is old, the only reason they were banned is because it started to circulate again. Now, Nina did actually issue a public apology, though this was only after she got banned. So it's pretty clear to me that a Twitch rep said, hey, Could you say sorry? And we'll bring the ban down from 1 day to 23 hours.
I'm old enough to own up to what I did wrong. And during the situation, I genuinely 100% thought it was a joke. I just thought he was laughing, so I'm like, oh, like we all just laughing and geeking. But yeah, I see. It is wrong. It is really, really wrong. And what we did was wrong. You know, he clearly was uncomfortable with it, you know, and he was very hurt by it.
Now, how long was the ban? It was longer than a day, at least. It was 1 day and 20 hours. Like, I sound like I'm being very sexist right now. If that was a guy doing that, they would either be permanently banned or we are talking like weeks to probably more likely months of suspension. So yeah, after that incredibly terrible 1 day of 20 hours of not being able to stream, they were both then allowed back on the platform. I mean, dude, a ban that short? That's so grim. Like, I know I'm giving massive incel energy here, but like there is such a disparity on Twitch between like male creators and female creators, and how female creators will literally just get like a slap on the wrist, while male creators will usually get a much more extended ban. That is, unless they're the top 1% of male creators, and then they just ironically get treated like a woman anyway. Now, a lot of people have pointed out that Nina Lynn actually isn't real. I'm not talking about seeing Bigfoot on like a 144p YouTube video.
You eat babies.
But more in the sense of the way that she presents herself to the world. Like, it could just be a huge character. That obviously does not instantly rub away or erase the things that she's done that I've talked about earlier. But for the next part, everything does definitely feel a bit put on. You know that bit where like Patrick Bateman's putting on his skincare routine? He's like, I don't like to use alcohol skincare because it dries out the skin. There's an idea of Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusionary. That's kind of how I view Nina Lynn, to be honest, because like it seems that she's made this fake persona to almost like try to rage bait people. Basically a clip farm. I mean, you know, I've talked about this in the past before. Like clip farming is the new meta to blow up. I mean, Neon, for example, when he's not view botting, or even old Logan Paul, or even current Logan Paul, if you want to be honest. The first clip I want to cover is a stream that she did with Pokimane, and in said stream, Pokimane asks Nina Lynn what her type in men is. And it basically boils down into wanting to make a man a slave to follow her around. I'll let the clip play because I really can't give commentary here. It does speak for itself.
Is the obeying type? I need obeying. I need you to listen. Not too much talking. Shut up when you need to. Mind your own business. Make sure my business is running good. If I need assistance in anything, you have to drop everything and help me. Your wallet, my wallet, my wallet, my wallet. Yeah, any girls you talk to better be your sister or your mom. Other than that, don't talk to them too much either. Location is always on, and have an AirTag in your car without you knowing.
Now, again, like, it kind of makes sense what I was getting at earlier. She doesn't mean this. I hope to God she doesn't mean this. It's very obvious. She's like rage baiting, clip farming. You know, she's saying the most outlandish things while Pokimane is having her 0.25 centimeters of food to go, ooh, ooh. Let me touch your body to show that we're friends. We're friends. Like, this has to be a character she's playing, because there is no way that anyone, despite being a man or a woman, would have a take so direct. Okay, no, to be fair, in the male space, I've seen some absolutely unhinged morons. I mean, for the male side, to be fair, all you really got to do is look at the Fresh and Fit podcast. Like, I genuinely refuse that is an actual opinion that you can hold without doing a bit. Even the way that Pokimane like reacts to it by staring at the camera, it's like this is what I love about these kind of like streamer conversations as well, at these mukbangs. They're always very hyper vigilant of like, wait, if I react to this, will I get cancelled? Will I have to do an apology tweet again? I mean, I did say that as a joke, but unironically, a couple of hours ago after recording, Pokimane actually did put a statement out. I've gotten a lot of comments asking me to speak on recent news, and I didn't tweet sooner because I felt the focus should have been on the victims and allegations, but it also feels wrong to not say anything. Sad face. Sexual assault and harassment should be taken seriously regardless of the gender of the perpetrator or victim. There's already so much shame associated with speaking out on these experiences, when in reality, the shame should lie with the abuser. If I'm ever slow to comment on things like this, it's because these situations bring up a lot of emotions from my own past traumas, which I don't know if I'll share publicly. I hope this makes my stance clear. I mean, it is a bit of a nothing statement. I mean, like, no names were dropped or anything. And obviously, you know, the past trauma she talks about, I don't know what she's talking about. Obviously, to go through any trauma is terrible, and my thoughts are there for her. But at the same time, it does, you know, the last couple sentences of that tweet kind of turn into the making it all about me award. Now, there's a different clip regarding Nina that seems to be more real. I still think there's definitely a lot of clip farming going on here. So she's talking about her childhood, and, you know, because of that, I feel that there's less reason to lie here. Now, she does open up how she grew up in a foster home and was reconnected with her family and younger brother by the time that she was about 8. And when they met and then started living together, she would regularly beat and actually be aggressive to her 6-year-old brother. And this apparently lasted 7 to 9 years.
I was really aggressive with my younger brother, and he was like 6. So I until he was like 15 or 13.
And then apparently the beating got so bad that Child Protective Services tried to intervene.
Child Protective Services came. We had to fly to China to evade the police and Child Protective Services because they were going to put us in foster care.
And then her family apparently had to fly to China to avoid issues with law enforcement. Her father was actually almost arrested by police because they actually believed, the authorities, that he was the one doing the beatings. But in reality, as Nina says herself, it was her. And instead of coming clean to protect her dad, she would stay silent and then her younger brother more to make sure he didn't speak to the police.
My dad almost got arrested because they thought it was my dad beating him, but it was actually me. And they all knew, but I wouldn't say anything, and I'm more to not say anything to the police when they got interrogated.
Now, again, it's very important to note that she was a child when this was going on. You know, this started when she was 8 and probably lasted until she was like 15 to 17. And she said that she did pick up these behaviors from the foster home she was in.
I actually grew up in a foster house. It was very violent, like the foster house I was in. I loved them. I loved the people who took care of me. They took very good care of me. But they were also very traditional, as in very old school, where everything was very physical.
But again, I still feel like, you know, once the police were involved and your family had to flee the country, you'd probably put 2 and 2 together and then realize what you're doing is wrong. Again, I have no idea if this story is real or it's just a clip farm, but there's obviously like a pattern of behavior here that shows, from what I've seen, she's not a good person. She could be in private when, you know, the mask is off and like clip farming mode isn't on. But, you know, a streamers came out saying that they were basically like, you know, sexually harassed by her. You know, there are multiple instances of her doing this as well. And what's the big conclusion? A 1-day, 20-hour ban. Great. Love that.